Predicting a rookie player's future might be one of the most interesting things to do for any NBA fan and one of the most difficult things for any front office crew member in the league. Before the draft, almost nobody knows how good a certain player can be. We've seen crazy draft selections before, like the Denver Nuggets picking Nikola Jokic as the 41st overall pick back in 2014, or the Golden State Warriors selecting Draymond Green 35th overall. Sadly, we've also seen situations where the wrong man was picked first or second overall, like the infamous Anthony Bennett, Darko Miličić, and Sam Bowie selections. We usually call those bust. However, there are actually a lot of situations where an individual is certainly a top-tier talent, yet something makes his value significantly lower, and it's difficult to decide whether the talent is a bust or not. That's the Ben Simmons case, and today we talk about and analyze whether Ben Simmons manipulated and fooled the entire league and Sixers into trading him away. Also, I'd really like to hear your opinion, as I'm very curious about what you, my dear NBA subscribers, NBA fans, and just passing by viewers, think about the league's future. Now grab some snacks, get yourself comfortable, and enjoy the video. But before that, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you haven't done so already, hit that notification bell to get updates on our latest NBA content. Let's keep rolling. The deal between the Brooklyn Nets and the Sixers was an anticlimactic one. On one hand, James Harden has been talking about Philadelphia as his preferred destination for a long time, while on the other hand, nobody could truly predict Ben Simmons' trade value after more than half a year off the NBA court. After all, it seems like both teams did what they thought was the best scenario for them, as we, as independent analysts, will try to find out whether it was true. Let's answer one of the biggest questions fans around the league have at the moment concerning this trade. Did Ben Simmons trick the Sixers and the Nets into making the deal? Well, this one's pretty difficult to answer, as we probably don't have every bit of info. However, there are a couple of interesting hints that help us to understand the situation behind the scenes of this situation. The first hint is that all of Simmons' mental issues began to interfere with his on-court presence only after his disappointing playoff performance. James Harden, who we'd mentioned before, was also accused of doing the same thing as Ben did. It's no secret that in the modern NBA, there are players who are not really enthusiastic about playing for a certain team and want to follow their personal aspirations instead. That's why they chose to fake an injury so they can miss games with a squad they no longer want to play with. In particular, players do it when they're almost about to leave the team. For example, it's a trade deadline or an off-season is approaching kind of situation. James Harden did it back with the Houston Rockets when he left for the Nets, and there are rumors of him doing the same this year before his move to the Philly squad. Many fans and even some big NBA names are supporting this claim, as per Ben Mahler's take. Ben Simmons in Philadelphia was a charlatan, a fake, a phony, and a fraud. And this guy has been hiding under the mental health card from the bottom of the deck, knowing that it makes you untouchable in polite society. The establishment media are afraid of even slightly criticizing someone who makes this claim. If you say it's mental health, the media has to believe you, hook, line, and sinker. There is no proof needed and no questions should be asked. You just accept it because if he said it, then it must be true. The moral of the story here is that Ben Simmons was able to play the system. I don't really want to comment on this situation, as mental health problems are a real issue in the modern world, although this entire situation with Simmons truly does look sketchy. Now, here comes the second hint. There was another case of Ben Simmons giving questionable information about his health status. Ramona Shelburne of ESPN reported the following. Simmons was being held out of team's shoot-around, he told them, due to a possible exposure to a team masseuse who returned an inconclusive illness test. Several players were questioned about whether they'd seen her that morning, but only Simmons said that he had. He answered the question honestly without thinking of the implications, says one source close to Simmons. But according to multiple sources, many within the team questioned whether Simmons had actually seen the masseuse, or was just trying to get out of playing as he battled the basketball version of the yips. Later in the day, the staffer and Simmons' test results came back negative, according to sources, and he was cleared to play in the game, but he wasn't in a good place, and neither were the Sixers. He was thrown, the source says. So could this situation be kind of a prequel to that entire saga? It's unlikely that we'll find out in the foreseeable future. Maybe just like tons of historical stuff in the NBA, we'll get an answer in 15 to 20 years on some talk show or basketball podcast where Joel Embiid would be a special guest and give us insight on all the behind-the-scenes stuff. Who knows? The thing I know for sure is that some of the former NBA players also suggest that the situation is not as transparent as it might seem at first. NBA legend Shaq had the following to say: "As a superstar, as a professional NBA player, we don't always get our way. The problem started when Doc made the comment. He was upset, backlash, and then the mental health thing came in. There's a difference between mental health and mental fortitude. You know, I'm not comparing him to me, but you don't think I have heard we can't win with Shaq? You don't think I've heard Shaq's not worth $120 million? You don't think I've heard don't throw it to Shaq, D-Wade, you shoot? I've heard it all. And what makes us great is we learn how to persevere around all of that. The question is, if this problem arises again, what are you going to do? You don't think I get emails and posts and threats? I done heard it all. I got booed before. I just wish if this situation ever comes around that he has a tough enough mental fortitude to be able to get through it." This take might be the realest one. I really don't want to downplay Simmons' mental state, and I believe that he didn't deserve all that hate after his performance, although it might be part of his mentality, and he didn't seem to work on it with Philly. Shaq's question is actually a really solid one. What if Ben feels the same pressure he did with the Sixers? To remind you, the Brooklyn Nets franchise might be an even bigger media enigma, as there are some of the league's best talents on the roster with the Brooklyn squad. Even without Ben, the situation in the Nets locker room might be a pretty heated one. Kyrie Irving, who was the second most talked about person in the previous 4 months due to his controversial decisions. Kevin Durant, who's on the path to pave his legacy fighting off all the doubters, and that fan pressure due to the Nets squad being one of the most superstar-filled ones, and the New York being a large media space in general. I doubt the level of pressure will be lower with the Nets for Ben Simmons, although I really hope he bounces back better than he was before. After all, this deal between the Sixers and the Nets seems to be the starting point for both franchises' successful futures, and I think that if Simmons did trick the league, it was for the better. And what's your opinion? Do you think Ben Simmons has tricked his way to Brooklyn? Do you see the Brooklyn Nets winning it all this year? Will Philly benefit from having James Harden on their team? Tell us what you think in the comments down below. And once again, make sure to leave a like on this video and hit that subscribe button to catch up with the best NBA content. If you like this video, make sure to watch my other videos about recent NBA news. Thanks for watching.